Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next YouTube video. This is going to be my final San Diego Comic Con 2013 Korra news update video, number 4. And this is basically just covering the last few pieces of information that we got from the con. Because a few little things did come out in some interviews afterwards, and some stuff was kind of glanced over during the convention. Just want to mention. Mainly just two things. The first thing is just some merchandise that wasn't really reported on too much, and is that there are actually some badges available, I think, from the Nick booth, and they're basically Korra chibi badges. So there are chibi versions of various characters' faces. You can see a few of them here. So yeah, they're really cool. Like I've always been a huge fan of the kind of chibi designs, and I was always very disappointed when Brian said, I think fairly early on in Core production, that they wouldn't have time to do any of them. So but it's always fun to see them in these kind of form. And as far as I know, there are 25 available, and the breakdown is kind of like that. There's a certain amount of characters, and then there's like multiple facial expressions on certain characters. So that makes up to 25. It's not like there's 25 different characters done. So they're pretty cool. There's something that I'd like to kind of get, but more than likely they'll never be like on sale anywhere outside of like conventions or like exclusive on Nick's shopnick.com, which only ships to America. But yeah, there's that's interesting. But the most interesting thing that has yet to be covered was an interview with Mike, Brian, and Gene Yang. Obviously, Gene Yang being writer of the comics The Promise and The Search. And for the most part, they covered a lot of stuff we already knew in the first like 10 minutes of the interview. But then basically in the last like 2 minutes of the interview, there was like some big reveals, and the interviewer asked them about, is Lynn going to be in book 2 at all, and they basically said that no, she's not going to be in book 2 that much. She is there. There's a few scenes with her, I think, but she doesn't play a big role. But they did say that she will play a big role in book 3 and 4. So that's good to hear, and they explained why she's not in book 2, and that book 2 is very kind of focused on the Water Tribes, which is away from Republic City. And Lane is very kind of a character that's connected to Republic City, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to focus on her. So I understand that. And then Gene Yang kind of picked it up from there. It was just like, oh, well, there's no Lane in the show. We are going to cover Toph in the comics some more. And I believe his exact quote was going to be like, there's going to be a lot of Toph in upcoming comics. And this was big because there's only one comic that's been announced that is not yet out, and that is The Search Part 3. And if any of you have read it, you will know that Toph isn't a big player in that comic at all. I don't think she's been in it, maybe the opening scene or two, but she hasn't really been in The Search, so it's highly unlikely that she'll actually be in Part 3, which basically confirms more comics are coming out, a third series or something like that I assume will focus on Toph in some way. So that's big news, and I'm surprised that wasn't really picked up by a lot of people, that that's confirmation of new comics. That's obviously a slight disappointment with Comic-Con, in that they didn't cover anything like new about upcoming comics or anything like that. So it was nice to hear that there are more coming. And that's nice to hear that Toph is going to play a bigger role, because really she has kind of been on the back foot in the first 2 series, because she hasn't, obviously with the way they've set her up and where we know she goes to become the first ever police chief in Republic City, that's probably what her series, the next comic series, is going to like explore, her becoming the police chief, her metal bending school basically becoming the first few officers or something like that. And it also gives some potential to set up stuff like explore her relationship with her parents, which is a kind of big unresolved thing from the show. Remember in The Runaway, she sent that letter. Katara helped herself to send that letter to her parents. That's still unresolved. then there's the whole thing of who Lynn's father is. You know, are they maybe going to explore that some more? Romance with Toph in the comics, who knows? But I just really wanted to touch on those two things because I think that they were so offhandedly mentioned during the thing. But actually, also there was one other thing that I don't think I've addressed as much. I mentioned the last one, but we know that there is two animation studios working on the Korra book too. Obviously, Studio Mirror, who we know from book one, and then Studio Pierrot. I think their actual name is like Pierrot Co. Pierrotco, and they do the animation on book two, episode one. And Brian basically, without really mentioning that, like we have a new animation studio, just said that the animation studios, Studio Mirror and Pierrot, and I was kind of like, oh, you're actually mentioning it. So yeah, we have two animation studios for book two, and it was just mentioned so offhandedly. I was a bit shocked that they didn't even mention it in the panel or anything. But there's the news, new animation studio. Lynn not going to be in book two much, but she will be in book 3 and 4, and Toph getting some comics coming up. So pretty big news. Last stuff there from Comic Con. Obviously, book 2 of Korra coming in September, which should be great. I will cover the episodes and like on my channel with reviews and stuff like that. So thanks for watching, and bye.